I did almost everything she and her family asked. The large house and white fence, a new car she had to have every 2 years, posing for the happy family photos and TV spots that her father uses on his run for governor this year. Oh, and we can't forget all her companions that his unfaithful daughter has had almost throughout our entire marriage. I would like to make it clear that I hate using harsh words, but she never charged them a penny. With that being said, let's begin, shall we? My name is Ryan Eckhart, now 37 years old. My body is in good health as I hit the gym, as well as working at the lumber yard her father owns. Even though I'm the assistant manager over the entire yard, I enjoy getting my hands dirty, helping out our employees in filling customers' orders. We also supply many construction companies and contractors as well. We're a well-known company servicing and shipping to the 5 states surrounding our area. Her name is Catherine Smith. She chose to keep her maiden name when we got married, a fact that would work in my favor later on. She has never had to work out as the plastic surgery daddy pays for makes that possible. A spoiled little gold digger who has a job in her father's political office that keeps her in the public eye. What I came to find out later is that every time I asked for time off to celebrate anniversaries, birthdays, and such, my boss would call her father to let her know I wasn't at work so she could reschedule the times with her companions accordingly so as not to intrude and embarrass them by catching them in the act. So then, how did I find out, you ask? My sister's husband had his parents coming in for a week's visit with them and their grandkids. Becky stopped by the Hilton downtown to arrange a room for them, as there wasn't a free room at their house. She stopped by on her lunch hour and saw my wife and 2 of her companions walk right past her and get into the elevator. As the door closed, she saw my wife behaving inappropriately with one of them. Becky was confused as it was 2 days before my wife's birthday. But 3 days earlier at their BBQ party, my wife's story was that she had to go out of town the week before and wouldn't return until 2 days after her birthday. While Becky was putting 2 and 2 together after she reserved the room for her husband's parents, she got a cup of coffee and sat down in the lobby to process what she had seen. Just as she was finishing her coffee, the elevator doors opened and out stormed my wife and her friends. My wife was on her phone. "Thanks for the heads up, Tim. Give Cheryl my love." Her companions were still acting inappropriately. "Look, you guys, the fellow left work early to surprise me before I said I was leaving. We'll have to do this another time when we have eyes on him to be sure." My sister had a feeling who Tim and Cheryl were, as she had met my boss from the lumber yard and his wife when they attended Harold T. Smith's political gatherings. 3 days later, my wife supposedly went out of town. It was a Sunday. Becky called to invite me out for lunch, so we met at a burger joint near her house. I arrived early because I hated being late for anything. Becky came in and I stood and waved so she could see me. "Becky, you're looking good, sis. So what's up with you?" "Ryan, I hope you've been well. Have you ordered yet?" I sensed something was wrong. My sister and I were like twins and not the 3 years apart like we were. I raised an eyebrow. "This isn't a social call, is it?" Beck just looked down at her hands, which were rubbing together. Our waitress came over for our order. "We'll have 2 sodas now. Give us a few minutes for our order, please." I gave her a half-hearted smile. We didn't start talking until after our drinks came and the waitress left us alone. Beck raised her face to mine and asked, "Are you happy with your life, Ryan?" I mean, truly happy? I hadn't been happy for a couple of months, since I began feeling something wasn't quite right. I wasn't going to tell her, though. I guess as happy as the next guy whose wife spends almost all of her time with her father on the campaign trail. I would like to have children at some point in life. Why would you ask me a question like that, Beck? She began crying as she pulled her phone out and slid it over to me. Just hit play. I did, and I froze. She took her phone back and pulled up another video that started just before Tim and Cheryl. She hit play before giving her phone to me again. I thought I didn't have anything to respond with. That's when I noticed water dripping on her phone and realized it was my tears. "Ryan, Mark's outside. He'll drive your car while you ride with me. I'm taking you to our place until you can think straight enough to get through this." She began crying hard. "How could this awful woman do this to you?" I wiped the tears off my face and then smirked as I realized no more were coming. I slowly stood and looked down at Beck, taking my handkerchief out to wipe her tears. "Keep it, Beck. Go with Mark back to your house and enjoy each other and the kids. I know what I want done and must begin seeing to it. Just know that I love you all no matter what happens." I forced a small smile on my face, kissed her cheek, and walked out. I walked over to my car and noticed Mark standing beside it. "There you are!" "Mark, she's not doing well. All she's doing is crying and getting louder about things. I need help getting her out of there. Come on." Mark took off at a run towards the front door of the diner when Beck stepped out. "Mark, where did he go?" He turned his gaze back to my car, and Beck's gaze followed his. They both stood there and watched as I backed out of my parking spot, dropped it into drive, and drove out of the parking lot and onto the street. I needed to find a place to think, but I realized I couldn't just disappear as Harold and his army of cronies would hunt me down. Where could I go? As you all know, fate sometimes lends a hand to those in need. While I sat in my car outside of a convenience store, a young man who had just robbed the store jumped into the passenger seat and put a gun to my head. "Drive, mother flipper," I remembered thinking, like this was going to make my day any worse. I turned my head to look at him. I had a wild look in my eyes, and his got a little larger when I said, "Yeah, jerk, let's drive," as I dropped the car into reverse and held the gas pedal to the floor. The car shot out backward into the busy street. We were hit first in the rear passenger quarter panel by a concrete truck, which in turn spun us around like a top into the other 2 lanes of traffic, getting hit multiple times as a result. I remembered hearing him scream, "Goodness, sweet Jesus!" I managed a small smile before I lost consciousness. The last thought in my mind was, "You're the one who said drive, buddy." I don't remember anything after that. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later, and when the feeling hit my brain as to how much my body was hurting, I prayed to God to let me go back to sleep. Didn't I have enough pain in my life already? I finally worked through the pain of trying to open my eyes, and a minute later I could focus enough to see Beck in a chair by the side of the bed. I gathered what strength I had to say, "Hey, silly, this is my bed. Go find your own." But it came out slightly below a whisper. Still, it was enough to make her raise her head up, and when she saw my eyes were open looking at her, she cried out and broke out in a storm of tears. A nurse came in to see what was going on and saw me awake. She hit the nurse call button on my bed. "Tell doctor, Standen to get off of his nurse and get his rear in here now." Then she checked all the screens of the machines hooked up to me. "Mr. Eckhart. Ryan, can you hear me? Don't talk, just blink. 1 for yes, 2 for no." I blinked once. "Good. You have been in an accident and the oxygen is to help you breathe. So you can't talk yet, so please don't try. My name is Cindy Abbott. I'm the head nurse of this ward, so just relax and let me do my thing, okay?" Blinked once. She looked at Beck. "Ma'am, if you could please sit over by the windows, it would be safer for you right now." Then she hit the nurse button again. "Where is he now?" A voice through the speaker said, "We paged him again, Cindy. The other nurses have begun calling around." About 10 minutes later, a young, good-looking man came walking down the hall with a nurse. They were both laughing. "I need to apologize to you both for what is about to happen here. Sorry you had to see it." The nurse he was with gave out a small yelp as he gave her a pat. Then he came into the room with a light chuckle. Cindy wasn't amused. "Where have you been? Your pager went off 20 minutes ago, then we paged you twice." "I was on my dinner break and headed this way as soon as it was over. What's the problem?" He looked down on her as he said that. Even though I was the one on medication and barely functional, I could feel the tension in the room rise and then snap as Cindy instantly turned red from what I could see of her chest up to her hairline. Her entire body puffed up as she walked over to him and snatched a handful of his shirt and white jacket. Her face came within an inch and spittle flew from her mouth as she just let it fly. When you're on call, you don't get breaks. The patients are your first concern. Their health is your priority, not playing grab rear with the nurses you socialize with. I don't care about how much money your family has or that your mother sits on the board of this hospital. You will do your job or resign and let the janitor who knows way more than you do the job. Understand me? His face was ashen gray as all the color ran from it. I'll call my mother and tell her you assaulted me. She'll kick that big ego of yours as well as your rear out on the street. You'll never work in healthcare again. I'll have her make sure of it. You don't get it, do you? I had all my nurses document every instance where you put what you felt you were entitled to before the patients under your care. I collected them all yesterday and will add them to the report I'm filing with the State Medical Board of Certifications. When they're done with you, you won't even qualify for a job selling ice cream in the cafeteria. So go ahead and run to your mama. It will just make it easier when I sue this hospital, so go ahead. At least I'll no longer have to cover up for your mistakes anymore. Cindy took a few deep breaths, then turned to Beck and me. I am so sorry you had to witness that. It was something unprofessional to do in front of you, and I beg for forgiveness. Beck replied, Don't worry about it. She stopped recording it and put her phone away. You want me to send you a copy, girlfriend? She smiled. Oh, I want another doctor put in charge of my brother's care as of right now. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at Standen. I'll sign whatever I have to. Just show me where Cindy. I thought he was going to cry as he ran out of my room. Then a voice came from the speaker at my bedside. Got the audio recorded as well, Cindy. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but he had it coming. I'll make you a copy as well. Then the voice got a little lower. Damn, my girl laid him out, right? Gimme 5. We heard the first hand slap before the speaker went silent. I'm glad Cindy took the tube out of my mouth before all that happened. It made me more comfortable to enjoy the show. I looked at Beck. Get Billy, my next-door neighbor's kid, and bring him up here now if you would please. I've waited long enough, and tell Mark I'm sorry for lying to him. 2 hours later, Billy, my neighbor's son, walked into my room. Beck went to the cafeteria for some coffee and left us alone. Hey, Billy. How's it going? I whispered. Damn, Mr. Eckhart, you're all over the papers and the news. Did they tell you that the guy who tried to use you in your car was wanted for 3 murders and a crime? Lucky you weren't number 4. He grinned. Billy and I became friends when he saw me trying to install my TV dish on my roof. He saw I was having trouble and offered to help. We wound up wiring everything from the dish to hooking up to the flat screen and the surround system. Afterward, Billy and I were sitting at our dining room table. I offered him a soda and gave him $100 for the help. He told me that he had been saving up for a new computer and now only needed $30 more. He happily put the money in his pocket. I pulled $40 from my wallet, then slid it over to him, and jokingly said that if he figured out how to unlock all the channels on the box put me at the top of the list. He asked if I could give him a ride to the computer store 15 minutes away. I didn't have anything else to do, so off we went. He got the new computer, and when we got back, he asked me for the access code to my Wi-Fi system. I gave it to him, and he said he would call me later on that evening, and true to his word, he called 3 hours later. He told me to check my dish system. Lo and behold, I had access to every channel they offered. I thanked him again, then grabbed a soda and sat back to see what was on the TV. Billy, are you still able to access my house remotely? I asked him as he sat down. Sure. What happened? They add more pay-per-view channels? A small smile was on his face. No. I want you to record everything on my home surveillance system, and don't tell anyone you're doing it, and keep doing it until I say otherwise, all right? He gave me a funny look. Does this have anything to do with all the guys going inside and then coming out the next morning or so? I nodded. Of course, I'll pay you for your time. I can't right now, but you know I'm good for it. He looked me in the eye. Mr. Eckhart, You're the only one who treats me like a regular person and a friend. Everyone in the neighborhood and at school treats me like a nerd with the plague who is only worth talking to when they need something. Keep your money. It's what friends do for one another." I almost teared up. I'm an adult and get treated almost the same way, yet here was a 17-year-old kid who treated me like a fellow human being without wanting anything in return. "Just don't let anybody catch you doing it, all right, Bill?" "Not a problem, Ryan." He gave me a wink. Beck came back right then. "I brought you a soda, Billy." She handed it to him. "So did you guys have your man talk?" She walked around to the other side of my bed, opened another soda, and put one of her kids' long straws in it. "Ice chips only get you so far. I had kids, I know." Then there was a commotion and loud talking out in the hall. I saw some flashes going off. "Beck, could you take Bill here home now? I believe it's going to get a little uncomfortable in here soon." She looked out into the hall and nodded. "Thank you, Beck. I appreciate it." I looked at Bill. "Stay safe, Bill." I smiled. "You just get better, Ryan." He nodded his head, and then they left, walking away from the commotion that was growing louder. A nurse popped her head in the door. "There's a Mr. Smith here with a bunch of local news people to see you. It's up to you if you want to talk to them." I shrugged my shoulders as best I could. Guess it had to happen sooner or later. Let Harold in, but only with his private photographer. I'm not up for an army just yet. She nodded her head and was about to leave. "Nurse?" She came back in. "Yes, Mr. Eckhart?" She smiled. "Is there a CCTV that can record the things said and done in this room?" I asked. "Yes, there is, Mr. Eckhart. Why do you ask?" she said in a low voice. "Could you make sure it's recording now and up to after they all leave?" I sighed. "It would be my pleasure, Ryan." Then she left the room to convey my wishes. I sat back and took a couple of deep breaths, getting ready to weather the storm outside in the hall. About 10 minutes later, Harold and another man came into the room. "Well done, son. You brought that murderer to justice. I'm proud of you." As he placed a hand on my shoulder, then smiled for the camera. "I'll just bet you are." I did my own pose for the next camera shot. Harold's eyebrow lifted a little bit with that one. "So how are they treating you, my boy?" He didn't miss a beat, a true politician if ever there was one. "I spoke to your doctor and he assures me you'll be out of here soon. We need more people in this state who aren't afraid to stand up to the crime in our streets." I looked down at the recorder running on the rectangular plastic table they give you so you can have a hard surface to eat or write on. "I have 3 questions for you, Harold. Go ahead, ask away, and I'll give you the honest truth." The look he had in his eyes was not as commanding as when he first came in. "First off, I'm not your boy." He backed up a little with that. "Then the second question is, which doctor are you talking about? The clown I had when I first got to my room has been put on administrative leave for gross negligent conduct, and they have yet to give me another doctor as of this moment. My third question is, why hasn't my wife, your daughter, hasn't been up here to see me or even call to ask how I was? I've been here just over 2 weeks already. Doesn't it seem strange to you because it sure as hell does to me being her husband and all? I'll bet she's really out there." I paused to let a few coughs out. "Campaigning for you, but you're here and I don't see her. Why is that, you think? Could she be at your office laying down the talking points of your next public rally that she's become too busy for her own husband?" I shook my head, then looked him dead in the eye. "I thought that honoring family was the cornerstone of your campaign. Damn, I must have misunderstood you when I stood next to you on the podium at your rallies. Perhaps you could set me straight on that?" I raised both my eyebrows while giving him a little smile as I awaited his response. His face was just about lobster red right then, and in a tight voice he said, "I'm not sure. Campaigning is very hard. I'll have to look into that." Oh, if looks could kill. I had to turn his screw one more time to get him where I needed him to be. You know, she could be at home washing the sheets on our bed trying to get them clean for when I'm finally able to return home. What do you think? Is that what she's doing? I guess I could spend some time in a room at the Hilton downtown while she tries to get all those nasty stains out. Harold fumed as he turned and walked towards the door. When he laid his hand on the knob, I used my most politest voice possible. Does this mean no comment, or that our interview is over? I'm so confused now, days after the accident. His photographer stared at Harold's back during all of this and never noticed I had slipped the tape out of his recorder and put it back on the table. I pulled my phone out and called Sandy Jensen, the divorce lawyer that a friend of mine's wife had used in their divorce. He said, "She's a tough lady that once blood is in the water, she turns into the great white shark from hell. Just the one I was looking for." I called her and she said she had a cancellation at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I explained who I was and what I wanted. Then she said, and I quote, "Forget that. If it involves Harold Smith and his brood, I'll be over tonight. Does 8:30 work for you, Mr. Eckhart? Wait a minute, are you the one who married his daughter?" "Sadly, I have that honor, and please call me Ryan." "I'll be there at 8. Mind if I bring supper with me?" she asked. "Not a problem at all," I replied. "I'll pay you extra if you could bring 2 grilled cheese sandwiches with you." "Deal." And then the call dropped off. I called Beck, and when she answered, I asked if Mark's nephew was still with the sheriff's department. She said he was, and I told her to ask him to take a few days off and spend them with her and her family. "What have you done that we would need protection, Ryan?" she asked me. "I just poked the bear and he didn't move, so I made myself a club." I chuckled. "You should have seen his face." "Ryan, sis, do you trust me?" "You know I do, with the exclusion of your choice of marriage partners," she replied. "Then trust me now and do it. Also, you might want to watch the news for a while. You'll know it when you see it." I blew her a kiss. "All right, but after all this is over, I'm going to demand an explanation." "You'll get it. Talk to you later." And I disconnected the call. It was 7:45 when I asked the duty nurse for a couple of fruit juice boxes. She brought them in 10 minutes later. Sandy Jensen walked into my room at 8:03. "Mr. Eckhart?" she asked me. "I am, if you're Sandy Jensen." I smiled. She pulled the tray over from the other bed and sat down at my bedside. The nurse came in to tell her visiting hours were over when I spoke up. "Could you please tell Patty that I asked her here and wanted her to ask if we could bend the rules this one time? Please, Kara?" "Okay, Ryan, I'll let it slide this time, only because it's you." She winked and left the room. Sandy looked at me and raised an eyebrow. "It's a long story. We just made a deal that she gets first date night when I'm free." She just smiled and shook her head. "Do you have something for me?" She pulled a bag out of her satchel she brought and gave it to me. To my shame, I put my face deep inside the bag and took a deep breath. If you have ever had hospital food for a while, you know that feeling. "Bless you." I placed the bag down at my side, furthest from the door. "All right, Mr. Eckhart, talk to me. What do you want me to do for you?" she asked. "I would love, not like, for you to draw up a divorce decree for me and my soon-to-be ex-wife. Then I want you to draw up papers for my father-in-law, Harold Smith, his wife, Margaret Smith, my boss, Tim Shepard, and his wife, Cheryl Shepard. They manage a lumber yard owned by Harold Smith, for alienation of affection. I figure it will cost me a pretty penny, but I don't give a hoot. The server will only have to take pictures of Tim and Cheryl because I want my wife and her family served on the podium at their upcoming campaign rally. It's going to be broadcast statewide, and that should cover it." Sandy spit up a bit of her drink, but caught it with her napkin. "You play nasty, and I like it. 6 years ago, Smith was mayor and did a land deal under the table for his frat brothers to get rich on. It came down to 4 of the homeowners refusing to sell. Smythe never offered to give them more money. He hired someone to burn their houses down one night. Thank God no one was hurt. But the insurance companies never paid them anywhere close to what their houses were worth. My grandmother died in a retirement community a year later, almost penniless. So in her memory, I'm going to do this at almost half the usual rate." "Why, thank you," I mumbled with a mouthful of grilled cheese. "It's too bad you don't have any pictures, videos, or audio. That would put a big nail in their coffins," she complained. I swallowed the food in my mouth. Actually, I do as a matter of fact. With a Cheshire grin, what's your cell phone number? I then sent her both videos that Beck took in the lobby of the Hilton downtown. Then I gave her the tape I palmed of my interview with Harold. Lastly, I have to contact a friend of mine to see if my home surveillance system bore any fruit, so I'll have to get back to you on that. She looked at me and shook her head. You have almost enough evidence now that you could close this case on your own. You are one tough fellow, you know that? I could even marry you for dropping this one in my lap. You need to speak with my attorney, Blake Edwards. He has a copy of the prenup that Harold had us sign to protect their money and companies from being included in a case involving a divorce. But I seem to remember there was a no cheating clause in it as well. I gave her a smile. You sure you don't want to try this one? I'll be there to help you through it. She chuckled. I won't be there as I believe my life will be in danger going forward with this. You should check to see if I could do a video conference call throughout the proceedings. I have no wish to be accidentally shot while crossing the street or anything like that, but I want to make sure that justice is served. I think I can arrange that. So when would you like them served? She asked me. I would like them to both be served at the same time. My ex's family on the podium and Tim and Cheryl during the company board meeting that will be happening at the same time. The rally will be held 3 weeks from now. Could you do all that in that time frame? 3 weeks is more time than I need. I'm going to really enjoy this one. She grinned. Please check with the judge about my video conference tomorrow and get back to me as quickly as you can. I grinned at her. I would prefer you contact me in person because I'm now dying for a grilled cheese and a steak burger from Steak and Shake. We both laughed. It was a pleasure to meet you, Ryan. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. I might even bring you a shake as well. She gave me a wink. Strawberry if you would. I grinned back. I thumbed the nurse's button. My guest has left, Kara. You have nothing to worry about, but thank you. She's just your lawyer, right? She left her card for us to call her if we ran into any unexpected trouble while you're here. I just laughed. Sandy came back the next evening with the news that the judge had approved my conference call once he found out who was involved in the case. She also dropped off my order, including the strawberry shake, God bless her heart. The day after, found my new doctor sitting on the edge of the bed, telling me that the swelling had gone down to near normal at the base of my spine at my pelvic bone. Once I was capable of walking decently, I could walk out of there and go home. I cried. Physical therapy started and it was tough, but I pushed myself because I had my plan and needed to set it into action. During the night, I practiced by myself, by standing up from the bed and sitting back down. I would call the nurse for a pain pill, and after she left, I would start again. I began doing this 10 times, then 20, then soon it was 30 times. My nurse friends caught me one night, but instead of turning me in, they found me a walker and began helping me get stronger. A week passed, and I was able to walk with a cane, and believe me, I walked all over that hospital. When they couldn't find me, they wouldn't freak out. They would just come down to the children's ward and take me back to my room. You see, I loved children, though I thought I would never have any of my own. Finally, they told me that I was good enough to walk out of the hospital. Remember Kara? It seemed she wanted more from me than just a date, so I moved in with her at her townhouse. She kept working at the hospital and I worked on my plan. Bill had gotten me more than enough proof that my wife's legs worked like a revolving door than I could have ever hoped for. He even had a clip of my wife and her father arguing about her not going to see me to keep up appearances. She then screamed at Harold that if he didn't have the courage to make me go away, she would make one of her friends do it, and it would be a permanent solution. The next morning, I couldn't wait any longer. I called my nurse friends to have them add more security guards for them in case some bad things started happening. Then I had Bill give me the password to everything he had in the cloud, as well as access to the live feed at the house. I told him to keep his head down and his eyes open. Then I grabbed a few sodas and put them into a cooler on the floor next to the new laptop I had bought, along with 2 burner phones. I picked up the first one and called good old Harold. Hello? Hey, Harry, how's it hanging? He hated the name Harry. Ryan? You aren't still at the hospital, he mumbled. You're getting slow, dude. But you think you are a politician, so I guess it goes with the job, eh? I queued up the spot where my wife was arguing with him, then I let it play out. I just called to give you the number of my Swiss account so you can send me $5 million, jerk. Where are you? I sure as hell not going to give you any money, jerk, he yelled. Down, Harry, down, boy. Let me play you my next call to the FBI. I put the phone close to a speaker and hit play. Everything played out and each word came in crystal clear. Still with me, Harry, old boy? I didn't like the way you said that, so the price went up to $10 million. Shall I go higher or just make that call? You and your daughter really stepped into a pile of trouble this time. Don't you think so? You jerk! I'll get you! He yelled. Sorry you feel that way, buddy, but if there's a troublemaker in the pile, it would be your wife. Say hello to the FBI when they get there because I've so much more than your little chat with your daughter. I think I'll just give them all of it. And I hung up. I called back 45 minutes later. He answered on the first ring. Thinking any clearer now, buddy? I heard some breathing on the line. Is that your daughter I hear? Have her be quiet so we can hear each other talk, okay? Forget you, buddy. I should have handled you like I wanted to in the first place. Then we'd be set in the governor's mansion and you'd be gone. So testy, aren't you, lady? Least your father knows I'd be recording this call, so be quiet. It will cut down on the echo I'm hearing so I can hear Harry talk. And Harry? The price went up to $20 million since your daughter can't be quiet for even a minute. Sorry, guys. I have a call I have to take. Then I hung up again. I had already Googled to see who the top man in the FBI was for political corruption. I finished my soda, took 2 ibuprofen, and opened another soda. I called them again. They picked up right away. I gotta hand it to you, Harry. I don't know what you did to upset Agent Bellsworth so bad, but he really wants your posterior. I have him on hold on the other line, Harry. What should I tell him? Then I played a short segment of his wife calling her friends to extort money for his campaign. It's your call, old boy. What do I tell him? I'll catch up with you one day, Ryan. It's going to take a week for you to be sorry. Blah, blah, blah. He's waiting, I said. Give me the account number, fellow. I gave him the routing and account numbers. You got 15 minutes to make the transfer, or I call him back. Then hung up again. He made it with 3 minutes to spare. Then it was time to call Timmy and Cheryl. Timmy, you old fellow, what have you been up to? Hopefully more than running the slush fund for Harry's money. I'm going to make you a one-time deal. If I hang up before it happens, you both will be having the FBI visiting the office as well as your home to take a peek into your walk-in safe you got there. Don't try to tip anyone off or call anyone because I've tapped all of the phone lines at the power station out front, and if my friend there sees his little meter registering a Wi-Fi call, it's all over as well. Do I have your attention? What do you want with us, Ryan? We haven't done anything to you, he replied. Nothing but kept your nose up my rear and call Harry or my ex-wifey whenever I was gone longer than I should have been, right? I was enjoying this. We had no other choice. You know what Harold would have done to us. He even sounded sorry just a bit. Well, the FBI is going to call me back in 20 minutes. If you and Cheryl don't wire $25 million from the slush fund to my Swiss account before then, well, I guess I'll just have to tell them everything I know. I hope you enjoy the rest of your lives being members of Club Fed. I'll be watching the account, and then I gave them the routing and account numbers. Remember, 20 minutes or all you'll see of your kids will be pictures that their adopted parents send you in prison. You know what? Make it $30 million. I hate having to listen to whiners. Then hung up. While I was waiting, I moved Harry's transfer to another account I had set up. You never can trust thieves, am I right? I didn't see the transfer, so I used the same trick I used on Harry. I called back. The FBI called me back earlier than I expected. I got them on hold on the other line. So what do I tell them, Timmy? It's your call. I'm going to call him right after we do this to let him know. Your life won't be worth anything after this, Ryan, he hissed. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not worried about him or you. Get that transfer done now. I'm getting tired of listening to your nonsense. I saw the transfer arrive in the account. There you go, Timmy. You won't have to worry about me again. Give my best to Cheryl and the kids. Then I hung up and moved the $30 million into the second account with the $20 million. I was hungry, so I ordered a large sausage and pepperoni pizza with extra sauce and extra cheese. Should be here in about 20 minutes. Who knew making $50 million would be so taxing on someone? After the pizza had arrived, I finished my soda and had another one with a slice of pizza to celebrate my good fortune. Then I put the next step of my plan in motion. I called Bill on his new phone and asked him if he had caught the account and routing numbers for the original accounts they both used to wire me their money. Like there was any doubt, Ryan. Just say when, and then in a couple of years I'll fly out to visit you guys. I had a blast working with you. Don't forget your new papers are in locker number 2714 at the airport, along with the disguises for the both of you. I'll miss you too. I nodded my head. We'll miss you too. Enjoy your vacation, my friend. Now drain the accounts and keep $50 million for your trouble, then put the rest in the first account. I'll transfer it over later on. It only took 10 minutes and it was done. $250 million. Then we ended the call. When Kara got home after work, I gave her a hug and a very passionate kiss. Did you say goodbye to everyone? She nodded and looked at me with her teary eyes. I'm going to miss all of them, baby. Not to worry, sweetness. When the time is right, we'll put them all on a cruise ship so they can enjoy being with us again. I kissed her tears away. Then I called Sandy to make sure everything was still a go. Yes, Ryan, everything is ready to go. You know I'll actually miss working with you, but where did you get $1 million to pay me? However, I did have a laugh when my bank called me to tell me it was a grilled cheese tip. That was cute. You deserved it, Sandy. After all your hard work and late hours, it was the least I could do. Don't forget to send me the recording at the end of it all. You got it, Ryan. Give her a kiss for me, she said. Will do, Sandy, and thanks again. I ended the call. I gave Kara the kiss from Sandy. Time to call our ride, baby. Kara picked up her phone to make the Uber call. I stepped into the next room to make my last call. When the operator said, "You have reached the main office of the FBI. How may I direct your call?" "Agent Bellsworth, please." "One moment and I'll connect you." I watched the world news from Portugal. I laughed the entire time as they showed the young blonde with a t-shirt saying, "Save the planet," on the podium handing out those manila envelopes. She smiled all the time. Then when she was done, she smiled at the camera and held her hand up showing the peace sign. Peace out, everybody. Then she walked off the podium. We had hung white sheets in a three-sided position for background in the basement of our new house. I sat looking at a camera that the police provided as well as the monitor sitting next to it. An officer sat behind it all to make it legal. For once, I didn't have to stand when I heard the bailiff say, "All rise. The court is now in session. The Honorable Yuga Mackenzie presiding." I answered the questions the judge and both attorneys asked me. Then I was a free man. Then suddenly it sounded like all hell was breaking loose in the courtroom. The policeman had already disconnected the camera, but the monitor was still connected, but showing a picture on its side lying on the floor. All three of us were watching it getting more confused until someone cut it off. Then my phone rang 15 minutes later. It showed I had a text and an email from Sandy. Her text read, "Don't ask, just put it on your TV." I looked at my fiancé, then cast it onto the flat-screen TV. The screen erupted in what looked like a free-for-all inside the courtroom. We watched as a man approached Harold. "Mr. Smith, I'm Agent Bellsworth with the FBI. Both you and your entire family are under arrest on federal charges of..." Harold pulled his hands back and pushed the agent away. Then another agent shot him with a taser. They handcuffed him while he was flopping around on the floor. Catherine, my now ex-wife, rushed the agents who had tased and cuffed Harold and was pepper-sprayed by a female officer close by. She cuffed her while eyes filled with tears as a result of being sprayed. Harold's wife stood up and tried to escape the courtroom in the ensuing crowd, but was met by 3 large agents. She just raised her head up and extended her hands as they cuffed her as well. Judge Mackenzie was banging his gavel till it broke. You could still hear him say, "Order! I am a federal magistrate and I will have order. The case of the Smith family versus the state will continue as soon as they recover and their counsel have arrived." They stood Harold up and had flushed my ex's eyes with enough water to stop the burning. Then Sandy walked over to the two of them. "Catherine, Ryan wants me to say, 'Now we're even, miss.'" Then she turned to Harold. "Hey, fellow, on behalf of Reba Carlson, I want to ask you, how does it feel now that karma has come to town?" Then she turned around to the camera and posed for a self-picture with all of them. Then she walked over to the camera. "So, tell me, Ryan, was it as good for you as it was for me?" She gave the lens a kiss. Then the camera spun around to show Bill. "Hope I didn't jerk the camera around too much for you. You two take care now." And then the video ended. I looked at Kara and we both broke out laughing. The cop looked at us. "Damn, they sure got some crazy ones over there." I tried to stop laughing and wiped away the tears running down my face. "Yes, they do. It's just that some are more than others." Kara gave me a kiss on my cheek. "Now that it's all over and you're off duty, can I interest you in a cerveza? After that display, I could use two." He broke out laughing with Kara and me. I married Kara a week later. The small village's padre performed the ceremony. I think this one's a keeper. Our son Benjamin was born a year later. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.